Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the Film School podcast. This Wednesday, the 9th of November 2020, we are on the second last podcast of the year and we're about to go for a hell of a time. You can follow us on Letterboxd. Our names are in the description below. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. But for those of you who don't know, the Film School podcast is a podcast where we talk about the films that we've watched throughout the week and we jump into two main topics. This week's episode is on Brad's Status, that just came out on Netflix, but it's actually a 2017 film, and Moon, the 2019 sci-fi film. I'm joined by a fantastic group of hosts. We have Josh, aka J. Luke. How you doing, Josh?
I'm good, thanks, mate.
That's good. We have the final girl, Emily Pratt. How you doing, Emily?
I'm well, thank you, Adam.
That's good. And last but not least, the rom-com expert, Chris Birchie. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good, thank you.
That's good. All right, let's jump into it right off the bat because I've already done all the introductions in rigmarole. Did anyone watch anything other than the two films this week? Because I didn't even ask when we were doing the show setup.
Well, no, not from me. So,
Neither, I don't think.
Chris, come on. I think you watched a couple of things. I think I saw some reviews.
I watched one movie, the getting in the Christmas theme. So it was the A Christmas Chronicle, I think it's called, with one of your favourite actors from The Thing, Kurt Russell, as
Ooh.
Santa Claus. Yeah, it was an okay watch. Just your standard sort of family fun,
Give me the
slightly
premise.
magical,
Give me the premise.
slightly not. So the basic idea was that the two kids, I can't remember any names, but there's two kids whose fathers passed away, and one of the kids, the little girl's watching her video cam of old footage of the father and so forth, and sees like this hand go through, which they think is Santa Claus at the tree, and this is all at Christmas time, and then they decide to record that night, stay up all night and record. And of course, surprise, surprise, they catch Santa Claus in the act, but he doesn't notice them, and they manage to jump into his sleigh. And then, yeah, shenanigans happen from then on in. So that's kind of the main sort of gist there. It's about getting Christmas spirit back and so forth for one of them, and being a believer, I think it was, not a what is it, a believer if you're a Justin Bieber fan. But very, very similar. But yeah, it's okay. Nothing awesome, but it's the sort of movie. Just put it on put it on, and you're going to get good vibes out of it. Yeah, so I think I gave it a 2.5. So it's okay. Good vibes.
I just looked it up on Letterboxd, and our good friend Alex Little has reviewed this at 3 stars, and his review is Kurt Russell. That's it.
There you go.
That's probably where the 3 stars come from.
I feel like I watched this last year or something, and I don't recall it being fantastic, but I just remember it being it's like a Christmas film. What do you expect?
Yeah, right? It's fun. That's about it. There's number 2 out apparently, so I might have to watch that. I think it's got worse ratings though. So.
So I watched about half a movie that I don't know even why I put it on, but I loaded up Disney Plus because I haven't turned it on in ages, and I don't watch Mandalorian. But they had this movie that they were advertising called The Godmother, which is about fairy godmothers and the fact that like they're gone extinct or they're like no longer needed in today's society. And it has like Amy Adams. It has the girl from Let's Run a Marathon. I can't remember what her name is. It always escapes me. But anyways, I made it only halfway through the film because it was just so terrible.
Wow. If Adam's not making it all the way through, then it must be horrid.
It was like I could see a world where I enjoyed this as a kid, but like not as an adult. This was too far gone. I was like, why are they making these like modern day like really bad Disney films? But I guess like Disney's like bleeding.
Who was it made for? Like, is it a pre-teen or is it a like early teen?
I want to say it'd have to be early teen because it's like the premise is that like godmothers are fairy godmothers no longer exist, and one of them is hell bent on being like the main actor. I can't remember her name, and I could probably look it up, but I just can't be bothered because it's not even worth my time.
What's the movie called? I'll look it up. Godmother. Yeah.
So anyways, the premise is, so she wants to be a godmother so bad. And all of the old godmothers haven't done any like jobs for any children or anything, and people no longer believe in happily ever after. Spoilers, neither do I. And she finds a letter from a girl who has written something, but she wrote the letter 20 years ago, and then she rocks up in the real world, and not the Godmother Kingdom or whatever it is, and it's Amy Adams' character, and she's living a very sad life, and I presume what happens is she ends up living happily ever after or some BS
So
like that.
it's called Godmothered, yeah?
Godmothered, yeah.
So it doesn't have Amy Adams in it.
It does.
It has Isla Fisher in it.
Okay, they look very similar. I apologise. I'm
Bit of a difference.
And it's Gillian Bell is the other one you're thinking of. Or Mary Elizabeth Alice, but I think it's Gillian Bell.
Is Isla Fisher the one in Arrival? No, that's Amy Adams.
No.
That's Amy Adams, yeah.
Isla Fisher's like married to Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah,
she's
Aussie. Yeah.
She's on the ING ads.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, they look very similar.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Not really.
Well then,
They've got like similar coloured hair.
Yeah,
Maybe
similar coloured hair.
face. Oh, sorry, shaped face.
I mistake Jessica Chastain and Amy Adams a lot more.
What? Jessica Chastain looks nothing like her.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
You're crazy. You're crazy.
Jessica Chastain looks more like Amy Adams than...
What's Isla Fisher in?
The Wedding Crashers?
The IAG ads?
Yeah, the ING ads, mate. That's all you need to know. Just
You only got to
put the
halfway
ING
through the
code.
movie. Maybe... Unless she's not listed on the Letterboxd things.
No, you're right. Yeah, she was in Beach Bum.
Yes.
Oh, of
correct.
course, yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyways, I digress. Go and watch.
Don't watch it.
Go and watch
Yeah.
that if it interests you. But not super for me. All right, let's jump into the main topic. What would you guys prefer? Would you prefer we do Brad's statuses first or Moon?
Oh, I don't really mind.
All right, we're doing Brad's status because that's the way I have it on my sheet. Let's roll the
Perfect.
little intro thing. All right, Brad's Status is a 2017 drama film directed and written by Mike White. It stars Ben Stiller, Austin Abrams, Jenna Fisher, Luke Wilson, Michael Sheen. They don't disclose the budget, but it had a box office of $3.8 million and was released by Amazon Studios. It actually got nominated for the Best Screenplay from the Gotham Independent Film Awards, which I have no idea what that is. I didn't even look it up. But does someone want to run us really quickly through the plot line for this film?
No, I don't.
All right.
Off the top of my head. Oh, you can do it, Adam.
All right. Grown-ass white male has an existential crisis about where his life at. Life is at 40. And that's the entire premise.
Yep.
Yeah, with the voiceover.
Yeah, with the voiceover and very repetitive piano grim music that gets to the point where they play it so often, I would say it gets a little bit jarring and annoying.
Was that the violin? It was violin too, wasn't it? Because I thought it was violin. That was really like putting me on edge a bit.
Honestly, it was my favourite part of the movie.
All right.
The whole movie made me feel just like uneasy watching it, and I
Didn't know what.
Ugh.
This movie didn't make me feel uneasy. I was just actively angry and annoyed while I was watching it.
Yeah, for me it was a combination of like hating Ben Stiller's character, but then also just finding like a bit of uneasiness because it's like, I feel like, you know, the whole existential crisis thing is something that probably like some of us have kind of like been
going through
feeling as well.
This approached it in the worst way.
It'd be like the sort of crisis as if you'd like, you know, got yourself a caravan and just started traveling around. I reckon.
I will say
that
watching this film and maybe not in being in the best state of mind while watching it, not a great way to go. Very, for a guy who's about to live in a van. I feel some of Ben Stiller's thoughts, maybe a little bit. So, did you guys did you get anything out of the film?
Go for it, Chris. What do you got?
Yeah, I didn't mind it. Like I didn't like it wasn't. It's definitely not a great film or anything. But yeah, I did like the soundtrack and how it. I mean, like's the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Like I got what the soundtrack was trying to do. It did was pretty off-putting for me.
It was effective for
Um,
what it was.
yeah, it was effective. Yeah, did make me, start to question my life and ponder things, which probably is a good and bad thing at the same time. And you could definitely see that people would be doing that. At that sort of around the 40-year-old mark, or even younger, around the 30-year-old mark, where you're sort of just seeing where your life's gone, what you thought it was going to do, and comparing yourself to your school friends and so forth. And yeah, that was probably what I got out of it. A little bit long-winded at times, but I did enjoy that part of it.
What about you, Josh? So you were about to jump in. I'll let you go.
I don't know who this was for, really. Like, is this for old white men to be comfortable in their upper middle class lives? Is that what we're watching? Like, it just every character was just the worst human being except for two, the mum and the son.
Yeah.
And the sort of social commentary that it was trying to do was so blatantly obvious to the point where I was getting nothing out of it. Like, you're providing me nothing. Like, you're providing no reason for him to have this existential crisis. And I understand. It's like, all right, let's have an existential crisis for the sake of having one, was this movie. I didn't really give any premise. Like, oh, his friends are rich and famous. Big deal. You're upper middle class. Your son's going to go to Harvard, and you didn't even know that. You're a dick of a person, and I'm not going to feel sorry for you for not content in, like, your pretty much quite privileged life.
See, yeah, I definitely didn't feel any sympathy or anything for Ben Stiller's character. I was like, no, like, you're an idiot. But at the same time, like, I think that I didn't have an issue with, like, the overall messaging of the movie. Like, I think it serves as, like, yeah, an okay reminder of, like, yeah, like, don't compare yourself to other people. Like, everyone's kind of got shit going on behind the scenes, and also, like, your own life isn't that bad in most cases. But yeah, like, I think bottom line for me, like, would I recommend this to other people? No.
Yeah, that's where I sort of fell on it too. Like, it was enjoyable enough, but like, I don't know if I could I don't know if I can like really run out and tell people to recommend this. If you want like something that's like sort of runs you through the ringer and takes you, yeah, I think it's really hard because you're right, Josh. Like, he is like a privileged dude, right? His son's
Yeah, like, I literally don't understand what this movie was about.
But
like, it was just served to, and I said halfway through this movie that I guarantee this is what they're going to do. They're going to make, he finds out that his friends don't actually have it as well off as
they possibly
have it. Let's feel sorry for the rich people now. And, how good is my, like, sort of accepted middle class life now? And I'm like, this is the most obvious narrative structure. I just thought this was very bad, and it was made for, I'm not quite sure which audience.
I think that what I did like about the film is I feel like, because we all know like middle class people who, like, I feel like people do get to this stage though, and I feel like, I don't know, you could sort of see yourself like being like, well, like, this guy has like a really sweet life, but you can see that like sort of overthinking that happens, like even in your own persons, right?
I agree. I completely agree.
I agree that like the format, I don't know. I think maybe like in the current times, like him just being a white middle class dude whose son's about to go to Harvard and stuff like that was maybe not the direction or like the story that needed to be told. And I'm not sure. I think that's where I really come down on it. This is a story that I didn't need to.
Well, that's what I was just about to say, to bounce off your point. It's like, yeah, you're right. This does exist. This does happen every day, but not everything needs to be made into a movie. Like, did I need to see this guy grovel over his own sort of place in the upper 10% for nearly 2 hours? No.
So I think that was like, we have someone in the chat who's just saying like the movie's listed as a comedy. Like,
No.
did not feel like one at all.
this is absolutely not a comedy. This is just
Nah,
like,
not much comedy.
and I think
If this was a comedy, it's even worse than I'm saying that it is.
the name of the film is also stupid too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Brad Status literally is such a fucking shit. No.
It's so
I-
like unimaginative, which just kind of sums up the whole movie, I guess.
And I thought when I read the plot outline, that it would have a lot more to do with him, like, really stalking friends on Facebook and stuff like that. And that something to do with status would have something to do with it, but nope.
I think it also would have been maybe more powerful if, like, the friends didn't have, like, just, like, the most mundane flaw. Like, the flaws that you
Yeah,
could see
I
from a mile
know.
away. I think
That's what I mean. Like,
like, can you imagine if, like, the guy who was really rich was really happy and rich? Or, like, the guy who was, like, boning all those teenage girls was, like, not a drug addict. It's just, like, I think that...
yeah.
I think that that's where I think that the film let me down. Like, I feel it would have just been cool if there was that, like, contrasting, and then, like, you realize that, like, everyone's living their own path or something. I don't know, but, like, yeah, I don't know. Just not a story that I think needed to be told.
It's a pity party about a really unlikable dude.
The only message I didn't mind, like, and it didn't need to be in this movie, and it wasn't done very well, but was just that, like, everyone does compare themselves to others, but a lot of the time those others aren't actually in a better position than you, or, like, you know, mentally or happiness. Like, that was kind of one bit I did get out of it.
I
with all these mates.
completely agree with the message that it had, but it's like, remember when we watched The Circle, Em?
Yeah.
Is that the
Like
one with
that-
Emma Watson and Tom Hanks?
No. So we watched a movie called The Circle, which on paper has a very great and important message. The movie still sucks, and that's where I felt on this. That's where I landed on this one. So I'm like, this is not the kind of characters you should have to tell that story or that message. Is sort of what I felt the entire time. And my girlfriend was laying in bed next to me watching this movie. Oh, she wasn't watching it, sorry. She was listening to it. And she's like, how long does this have to go? This is one of the worst movies I've ever sat in a room for. And I was like, it is making me so angry sitting here watching this. And I paused it. And I was like, this movie's been going for like an hour and 20 minutes. It's got 10 minutes left. It had been going 49 minutes. And I just knew that I was not in for a good night.
And I think, like, contrasting this film, Ben Stiller, like, I don't know, he sort of has done a few, like, existential crisis films, and I think that, like, go and watch The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because you know how much I love this film.
Yeah.
Like, this film fucking reeks it at him all the way through. Secret Life of Walter Mitty, the only thing that's bad about the film is, like, all the CG sections, but once you look past that, fantastic film. Go and watch that if you want an existential crisis movie.
Can I just say, though, Ben Stiller wasn't bad here. Like, the acting wasn't bad. I'd like to mention that. The way it was made was fairly mundane, but the acting was fine. It was just a really bad story, I felt.
And also, it has Pam from The Office. So that was
Yes,
interesting
and she
seeing
was
her in
great.
it
She was
as well.
one of the only good characters in the whole movie.
Oh, I hated the son. Did anyone else just not like the son?
I didn't hate him, but
I didn't hate the son. I felt sorry for him that his dad didn't even know he was good at anything. Like, that's what I mean. And then we're supposed to be like, oh, great, this guy's found some form of peace with his life, but he's just ignored his son for obviously 18 years.
There was that.
Oh, and then that part where he's like, oh, but because of him. What if he disowns me?
God, I wanted to throw something at the TV. You have no idea.
I think that, yeah, like, it definitely has, like, a pretty decent cast, like, especially with, like, the ancillary characters. I think that, what was I going to say? The bit with the girls, like, this is, I guess, going
So creepy. Just
so
creepy.
I thought that the movie was going to take a weird turn where he started, like, hooking up with, like, the college
Same.
students, and I was like, and, like, especially when he snuck out of the room from his
And
son,
especially
that's
when he
weird.
has the greatest wife ever as well, which was really frustrating me through the whole movie as well. Because the way he keeps talking about his wife, and I'm like, dude, you have the greatest wife of all time.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah, it definitely came off and, like, felt like he was settling, and I was like, but she seems like the
No.
best person ever.
because he acted like he was settling through the whole movie, and
Yeah.
that's why there's one conversation in this movie that has any merit, and it didn't even need to be in there, because if you were so dense watching this film that you hadn't picked up the message by this point, then probably you shouldn't be trying to analyze films to this level. But it's where he has the conversation with the college student. She's like, "Oh, you're the only man who still thinks the world's made for him," and it's like, yeah, great. You've literally laid out the one message that this movie had. And you could have just had this as this scene. It's the only good thing in the movie. And I also felt really annoyed that at the end, that the son benefited from his dad calling one of his shady connections.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I thought it was going to go a different direction
So
too.
did
When
I.
like they were like picking out the Harvard jumpers and stuff, I was like, oh no, he's not going to get in, and it's just going to be like, you know, this awful moment.
And then
But
I
then
thought
it
he
didn't
was.
happen.
Then I thought he was going to go to the other college. And he was
Same,
going to
yeah.
be like, "Oh, this is way better, be like my dad." But nah. Your son's going to Harvard, and you can.
Well, we don't know that he even went to Harvard, do we? There was no.
He
Like...
sort of
I think we do.
he implied at the end, though. I'm pretty sure.
No, okay.
Because when he was talking about how that he was worried about the people at Harvard seeing him get embarrassed in front of his dad, and then how he didn't really want to go there, but then he realised that they would have all been thinking about themselves, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Which is just a rip-off of a David Foster Wallace quote, by the way. But anyway.
Chris, do you want to tell them what you tried to convince me of at the end?
Oh, what was it again? The actor.
The window.
No, you need to go. You need to explain it because I've forgotten.
Like how he's looking out the window. What you said happened next. Like
Oh.
when he's in bed and the curtains are ruffling.
Yeah, I was just at the end of the movie because Emily was watching it at the same time. I just tried to convince her that the blowing of the blinds and everything, how he kept focusing, it was that he'd lost all hope and was going to end his life. But yeah, or did I say him or did I say the other one? I can't remember. I tried to trick you anyway.
Yeah, you tried to convince me that you'd seen it before and that he was gonna like jump out the window and kill himself.
Oh shit! Oh
Honestly,
shit! That would have been a crazy turn.
I was going to say, like, might have got... Actually, I gave this film 2 stars, and I gave this film 2 stars for one very specific reason. This was produced by the B production company and Sir Brad Pitt. So this movie got an obligatory at least half a star bump.
Yeah,
It could have even been a star with how angry I was. This could be a genuine 1 from me.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a really bad time with it, and it wasn't just like, oh, this is a bad movie, because I was like, no, people who have made this movie understand how to make a movie. It's just I am actively annoyed at the story you're telling.
Which I think like makes it maybe even more confusing as to why it got nominated for best screenplay.
At some random film awards that I've never heard of. It was probably the only thing that entered. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Or the judges are all like middle-aged, upper-class white men who can now feel comfortable in their sort of existence next to their really famous film director friends.
All right. Any final thoughts, or I think we're good to move on, yeah?
I think we're definitely good to move on.
Well, that was a really good discussion, I reckon. All right, let's move on to the next film. All right, so the next film is Moon. It's a 2019 sci-fi film directed
It's 2009. I'll just hop in.
Thank you.
It's
2009
quite old, yeah.
Sci-fi film directed by Duncan Jones, and it is his debut film. It has a screenplay by Nathan Parker, a runtime of 95 minutes, and a budget of $5 million, and a box office of $9.8 million. It really only stars 3 main characters, Sam Rockwell, Kevin Spacey, and Tessa, which is Dominic McCalligan. It won a whole lot of awards, but I think mostly is for Duncan Jones and his BAFTA for Outstanding Debut Film. Why don't you run us through the plot, Josh?
Yeah, so I'll just read the Letterboxd plot outline. It's my little cheat sheet, as always. With only 3 weeks left in his 3-year contract, Sam Bell is getting anxious to finally return to Earth. He's the only occupant of a moon-based manufacturing facility, along with his computer assistant, Gertie. When he has an accident, however, he awakens to find that he is not alone. So basically, he awakens to find, or actually, sort of goes out and saves
Well, like
a
let's
version of him.
just
Oh
really quickly
yeah,
pause. Just if you want to see this film, I think like unanimously we can all recommend this film. I really like. I gave this a 5 stars. Did anyone else like not enjoy this film, or not give it a like decent rating?
I
don't know. I didn't love
already-
it. I'd still probably give it like I haven't done my review yet, but I'm still thinking like a 3 for it though, which is still okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I only gave it a 3 as well. Yeah, it's dragged quite a fair bit for me once I realised what was happening.
All right. Cool. Let's go into spoilers. All right. Tell us the spoilers, Josh.
It's an 11-year-old movie, so I'm assuming most people who
People have seen
want to
it.
see this have seen it. But and I don't even really think this was a spoiler because it was in the trailer for the film. I believe, like, was a marketing point of the film is that he is a clone, and essentially a company stores mini clones on this moon facility in order to run it efficiently, and the clones have about a 3-year lifespan before their body starts to break down. So what we have come across is a sort of break in the usual chain where one, obviously they're not supposed to meet up or anything like that, and we sort of just follow. It's a 1-man sort of 2-man story of how they deal with both their existence and sort of the meaning and what's real and what's not.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I really like this film. This is the sort of like sci-fi that I really jive with. I think that it's definitely one of the better sci-fi films that I've seen where like they don't involve aliens or anything like that. I love like the tones of like corporate greed and like just sort of finding out, I finding out I guess like about the clones and like the way the 2 different clones act based on how long they've been alive. And I think above all else, I think that what really stood out was like the visuals. I loved all of the set design for the moon and the mining side of things. Anytime they like left the spaceship, like even the spaceship itself, I thought was just spectacularly done.
Yeah,
I like the
especially
opening
for-
credits. The opening credits were pretty cool. How they still had stuff happening, but it was going, through as they were going through the ship and stuff and outside. Quite like that.
Yeah, especially for a movie with such a low budget, the outside the moon scenes I thought were really, really well done. I'll give it that.
So
Yeah,
the fun fact is everything's practical effects.
you can tell as well. I think.
Yeah, so everything was like really small models that they shot. I think that like the standout for the film I think is really the acting. I reckon this is probably my, besides maybe Iron Man 2. This is my favorite Sam Rockwell performance because I don't know. I thought that he was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think he's great here. I actually prefer him here to than in Iron Man 2. I just love him in Seven Psychopaths. I don't know what it is about that character. I just always makes me laugh every time. But yeah, I think this, and I'm not really surprised that Em didn't love it when I started to remember what it was really about because I hadn't seen this since it came out. And after watching Blade Runner, I was like, this is a very Blade Runner-esque
It's probably why I like it.
storyline. Yeah, exactly
See,
right.
that's where it's interesting, right? Because so like the main reason why I wasn't a fan, so the main reason why I wasn't a fan is because I just found it kind of confusing, and as Chris said, I also found it just dragged a bit. I'll say it right now. I did fall asleep for a moment somewhere in the middle, so that didn't help matters. And I feel as if I almost like can't really have an opinion on it because I've missed that 5 minutes, whatever. But it's so interesting because when I read like the plot summary afterwards to like make sense of everything, I was like, oh, I really like this concept, and this sounds like a really good movie that I should have enjoyed. But yeah, I just didn't love it. I don't know.
The only reason I didn't love it as much as I used to love it, I think, is because the second Blade Runner has come out in the meantime, and I think it just addresses some of the ideas of existence and creation and like what makes a conscious being and sort of the whole slavery aspect of this whole thing quite a bit better. But this, in and of itself, just a sheer acting performance, and I must admit, having Kevin Spacey as the robot has lost a lot of its sheen over the past couple of years.
I actually didn't like his performance in this film.
No,
I thought he added nothing to it.
I don't know if that's retrovisionist though, from us knowing that he's just an absolute dick of a bloke now. Because I remember when this came out, everyone was like, "Oh, how cool is it that Kevin Spacey's the robot in this movie?" And the one thing I will definitely say that this movie does differently than nearly any other sci-fi movie I can remember, especially this style, is the fact that the robot isn't evil and doesn't
Yes.
go crazy.
Yeah, you're right. Because that was one thing I thought as well. Especially that scene with Sam Rockwell where he like comes out.
That scene with Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, but I mean like the scene where he wakes.
I know.
The clone wakes up and then like he skirts over to the thing and hears Gertie talking with Mothership. That's where I was like, man, that robot's freaking evil. But like,
Same. I thought it was going to go down that path too, and then it didn't, which I was fine with.
Because they set it up, because it's always been a trope of sci-fi ever since like 2001: A Space Odyssey, that the robot is the machine's always evil, always.
Yeah.
But nah, here they played it straight the whole time, and I like how they didn't even really suggest that he was ever going to be bad, but you sort of just make that assumption yourself, or you sort of find things to maybe like make leaks. But no, he's just always decent. And yeah, let's I think me and you should petition Adam for someone else to re-record all Kevin Spacey's voice lines so we can enjoy this movie even a little bit more.
I agree. I think all right, so just like let's jump to like the ending of the film.
Yeah.
The clone sets one of the miners to go and knock down the disruptive towers, and the clone that is recently new flies to Earth. Now, my question is, what did you guys like? How did you guys interpret like what he's going to do when he gets to Earth? Because like I don't think he's going to go and see his daughter. Like surely he can't because he knows that there's another clone there.
I think wasn't there like the news headline, the news voiceover report or whatever?
came.
Yeah, that said that he did.
Yeah, it said that he too was fighting for the rights of.
So I'm actually really interested. Duncan Jones made a follow-up film called Mute, which was released on Netflix, and there's a cameo from Sam Rockwell in the film. It's all set in the same universe. I wonder if that ties up any of the story of like what happened to that corporation and how that all went down. So I might watch that at some point this weekend.
Can you please watch that for me? Seeing it's got a 2.2 average on Letterboxd, and I don't really want to put myself through it.
I feel like I remember watching it when it came out on Netflix and remembering it was an absolute schmozzle. Like it was trash.
Yeah, because like, oh wait, I've seen the trailer for this. Yeah. That movie looked terrible.
I've definitely seen it. I remember sitting through it, just being like, "What the hell is that?"
And that's why I think I said in my review that movie itself sort of
Paul Rudd. Yeah. Oh, man, I can't sit through this one again. No chance.
And Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh no! Yeah, don't. I remember being like, Alexander Skarsgård is the only thing that was good about the film.
And he doesn't say anything from what I can see.
Yeah, because he's a mute.
Yeah. I will say this though, and this probably ties into why that movie is bad. That my total enjoyment of this film came from Billy. And I mean, that's
Sorry,
pretty obvious.
You sort of muted.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah, I tried to say that my entire enjoyment of Moon comes from Sam Rockwell's performance, and it's pretty obvious to say that in a movie that's got basically one person in it. But he completely carried the story, and for a story that, yeah, for some people, I can definitely see this dragging on a bit because it is a long sort of. Again, this is one of those existential movies. You got to sort of like think where you stand on morality in terms of if this is a clone, like how does it affect a family back home? How does it affect memory? All that sort of stuff. And this is a movie that sort of wants you to think while you're watching it, and I can definitely see why some people would not be into just sort of in-depth, intense, like philosophical thinking with their sci-fi. But I don't mind.
I feel like it wasn't actually that in depth though. I think that was the bit I had. Like, it didn't really go into much to do with, whether a clone's life is worth more than his life. Like, it had the little bit at the end, and also when he managed to communicate back home to his, tried to communicate to his wife, but it ended up being the daughter. But yeah, I just don't think it actually, like, it had those underlying themes, but really addressed them very much. Kind of, compared to, as you said, Blade Runner earlier. Probably why it lost a mark or two for me.
I don't think it directly addressed them, but I think it was one of the big themes with just the way all the conversations were going, and especially like when he was building the model, and they had that really deep discussion as well.
I totally get what you're saying, Chris, and like I definitely can see that. But I thought that like the messaging, like, or the message of the film was maybe not so much about the clones, but more about like the corporate greed and like fucking with men, like fucking with a person's humanity.
Yeah, the other bit I didn't.
Yeah,
sorry,
go, Chris.
I was going to say the other bit I didn't really get was like if they were able to clone the person and sort of, they had the whole bit where they had memories and so forth. It didn't quite make sense. I suppose it's for the plot line, but why they have that memory still?
Yeah, that's what I found odd about it too. I didn't quite understand that either.
It would have made the plot not work, but you would have thought they could have had some sort of memory that it was like, he was on Earth and maybe he did something wrong, and then this is him having a second chance to go up to space to, get the fuels or whatever to help society or something. But yeah, I don't know. That was just a little bit. I thought,
because I don't think they really implanted too much. Because a lot of that was real memories. Because there was the real Sam Rockwell guy.
Fuck, you totally just like hit me, Chris, with something. Like, why did the first clone that crashed, see his daughter? What the fuck was that about? How did he even know what his daughter... like there's that... Like the scene where he actually is driving, right? And he sees the daughter. And he sees the daughter twice. Like once or twice, like in these weird like flashbacks, like where she's sitting on the couch and he burns his hand. Why is that? Like, has he seen her before?
I think he had. Like, I think the part that this movie doesn't really explain is, like, and I suppose doesn't really need to explain, is when the sort of DNA was taken to clone this guy, and would he have had the memories up until that point, for example? I wonder if like Newt goes into that at all.
One of the, like, cool is how, like, he asks Gertie or whatever, and it's like, those memories are implanted. Because I was like, I don't understand why they would have implanted the memories of, the wife and the daughter and everything, when, like, that's what's causing the clone, all of that, like, emotional pain being up there.
What I was thinking, and I don't know if this is correct, but because if you had have just implanted something that wasn't based in reality, maybe it would seem like easier for him to figure out that it was all bullshit.
But did they need to implant anything like that?
Well, maybe they'd need motivation to work, I think.
But clones deteriorate after 3 years. That was also the implication, right? Because like they kept being cremated inside that machine.
So the whole concept was like they needed a reason to keep them working just for the 3 years, and the thought of maybe going home to someone.
I feel like if you're at the point where you can clone and implant memories, you could probably find a more efficient system.
Most likely, yeah. But who knows? I'm not in the human cloning business just yet.
Good shit.
Maybe that's our thing.
Good shit and good thoughts, guys. You really sort of changed my opinion on the film. Like, I was sitting real positive on this one, but I think you're right. I didn't really think it through. And I think talking about it has shifted my stance. I reckon this is a 3.
Still a good movie. I gave it a 3.5. Like, it's still very good. It's got a lot. It's got a lot of good things in it, but maybe just not as things have been addressed better in better movies at this point. I think.
Yeah. Yep. I was just happy it didn't have aliens in it. I'll be honest with you. For a story called Moon, I was like, oh fuck, there's gonna be aliens.
Were
Should've
you
watched
also
that. Should've watched
drinking when you
Alien.
watched it, Adam?
No, I watched this in the middle of the day yesterday.
Oh, did you? I thought you.
I'm pretty sure your message is saying you were
Yeah.
tipsy watching it.
Oh yeah, I watched it after. I got tipsy afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Jesus Christ.
Because I was going to say that could be what helped you give it the 5.
Get your priorities in order, everybody.
Oh, when did you rate it? Did you rate it when you were tipsy or when you weren't tipsy?
When I was tipsy.
Yeah, there you go.
Ah.
I feel like you still would have given it a 5 on the initial watch, but
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, guys. What are the films for next week? Sorry, just we're all happy to stop with Moon. Yeah?
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right, what
Yeah.
are the films for next week?
Well, I've recommended a new Australian Christmas film
Yep.
on Stan that doesn't come out till Friday. And actually, I've just remembered the name, A Sunburnt Christmas. So I'm happy that I couldn't remember the name till then. But yeah, it looks like it will be it's meant to be one of the best Australian Christmas films ever, apparently. Which
Hey.
when it said that, I was like, I don't know any Australian Christmas films.
I
Oh
think-
my
I think
God.
that's-
Oh my
Adam,
God.
do you know who this is directed by?
Chris Van Vuren? Something?
Do you know who that is?
No.
Do you how up are you on like mid 2000s internet culture for Australia? Do you remember the fully sick rapper or the Bondi hipsters?
No.
Well, he's one of those guys, so he's a YouTube guy. So
Oh, okay.
should
So
be
I probably
interesting
will
to
like
see.
it then.
Probably, yeah.
All right. So you said that you don't know any Australian films
Christmas
or
movies.
anything, Christmas movies. It's not a film, but it's the best season or like short season of a TV show ever. It's called A Moody Christmas. If you have not
Yes.
seen it,
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
10
Some
out of
friends
10.
just recommended that.
And they remade it for a US audience, and it's trash. But the Australian version is pure gold. The first time I ever saw it, it was one of those things that I sat down in a room and I walked past and I was like, "What's this?" And then I sat down and I watched the whole thing from start to finish. It was phenomenal. Anyways, I digress. And what's the other film?
The other movie is called Love the Coopers. So it's got a pretty big cast, but its ratings are not great. So it'll be interesting to see how we all rate this one.
And it'll be a Christmas movie, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
They're all the same.
Yep.
Holy dooly, this has a huge cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, all old and out of their prime.
Oh, it does have a young Timothy Chalamet, actually.
Oh,
so-
okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Nice.
Guys, it's got a lovely world. Wild. Oh.
And Adam and I
Marissa
will
Tomei.
probably... Yeah, Marissa Tomei. Whew.
All right.
Adam and I will probably review about 70 hours of Cyberpunk next Wednesday as well, I guess.
I suspect so. I am definitely going to give that a crack, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode or listening to this episode of Film School Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. If you search for Film School Podcast, we do not have the / yet. You can also follow us on all podcast services, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything. You can find us there. It'd be great if you liked and subscribed. Thanks so much for listening, and we will catch you for the final episode of the year next week. Join us for the Christmas episode. We'll see you then.